Welcome everyone. Welcome back to Off the Clock. Guys, just a quick second, like the video, comment down below and subscribe to the channel so that you are notified every time we post a new video and someone new gets to be on the show and provide us with their life story, and we get to pick their brains on what it's like to be a CEO in their industry. So Monalisa, welcome.
Thank you.
Our special guest today. We're happy to have you. This is Monalisa, everyone. Not the painting or the song, so I've heard. So
the original. But thank you. Thanks for the opportunity. Really happy to be here.
I'm happy to have you here.
Yeah, let me also welcome you to Off the Clock, and thank you for making the time.
Thank you.
You kind of been very prolific, in running the business that you run, Riverbed. And I'm sure you've gone through, difficult times and easy times, which kind of affect you. So today we're not going to talk a lot about Riverbed, but try to know, your off the clock activities. And I see you are a grandmother now. And what do you do to spend time with family, friends, and the hobbies that you go after? But maybe let's go straight into how you sleep, your quality of sleep, and where you are with that. But it looks like you're sleeping well.
I think my sleeping patterns are relative. They're very influenced by what my day is like and the pressures that I have from a work experience. I think over time, I've started to realize the importance of sleep and have, with intention, ensured that, especially during the week, I am having enough sleep so that I can face a new day with the right level of energy and focus. So yes, sleep is extremely important, but I do think when I sort of reflect on my life journey, it possibly hasn't had the importance it needed up until now.
Okay, cool. How many hours do you hit? 10, 6?
I need to do the math. If I sleep at about 10, 11, I'm up at 4:30 every morning. So if we clock backwards, and I'm sleeping at 9 or 10, Mahlatsi, the math is a good 7, 8 hours, I think. Around there, yes. So nine was ambitious.
Okay, that's good. That's good. On the stress side of things, how stressful are you on a scale of 1 to 10?
I tend to, just by nature, be a very calm individual.
Okay.
And I've almost felt oftentimes I need to redefine what stress is for me, because it definitely doesn't manifest in sort of loud outbursts or things like that. So I'm quite measured in terms of my stress levels. And I tend to manage it by always focusing on what the solutions need to be. That's been my approach in terms of how I manage stress, planning, solutions focused when confronted with certain problems.
So you don't lose your temper, you don't have peaks and dips, and the boss today, it's in a bad mood, don't approach.
No, not at all. Yeah.
The same every day.
Not look. My version of a bad day, I think, might surprise people. So I do tend to be very measured in terms of how I approach situations.
Okay.
Over time, if I look at my, once again, just from experience, there's been a realization that, at least for me, that especially in moments of angst, you want to treat people with care because you'll then get the best out of them. I've never seen shouting actually deliver the results that it intends to. And oftentimes I find people that do shout or scream, all of that is coming from a place of anxiety. It's either coming from anxiety, it's coming from a lack of confidence, not knowing, etc., and doesn't deliver on the results that it intends. So over time, I've realized that, and it's not to say inside there isn't this, boiling of temperature, but what I tend to bring out is always quite measured.
Okay, good.
All right.
At least that's I try to do that. My team at Riverbed can hopefully attest to that.
We can quiz them one day.
I think in the last 16 years, they've been very, very few of those outbursts.
Can quiz them, do a deep stick, and
right.
see.
So moving away from the stress and the
Right.
stressful aspects of your life and work life, what do you do in your downtime? What do you do to relax? How do you take the stress away? How do you wash all of that away? What does Monalisa enjoy doing?
I love reading, so I do, and often it's business books, and so I don't know if you see that as downtime, but I really, really enjoy knowledge. I enjoy, discovering new things. I'm not an avid runner, but I enjoy being outdoors and either walking or running early in the morning. So that's something that I enjoy doing. And I play the piano. It's been a passion of mine for a very long time. And I find when I do have downtime, it's something that I am trying to get back into.
Playing the piano. What can
Who'd
you
have
play
thought?
On?
I used to be able to play. Thank goodness there isn't one here. But interestingly, it was possibly something I wanted to pursue as a career. So I have been classically trained and also delved into playing jazz piano as well. So I think in my next life, I will come back and try that again.
So do you have a piano at home?
I do, yes.
Is this something like you also got your kids into as well?
I tried.
Oh,
but unlike this father-son relationship here, they didn't get into piano, but we do work together. So,
all right,
yeah,
that's cool. So, what other? You said there's not much balance between your job and you as the individual who has your own life outside of your job.
Right.
So what are things that you think, or like hobbies, stuff like that you don't necessarily have the time to pursue? What are things like that you would like to get into, try out, that you just never got the chance to do?
So, I think to start with, especially on weekends, what I do find quite therapeutic is rest, right? Like things that we possibly often take for granted, sitting on your patio, listening to the birds chirp, and just enjoying nature is quite therapeutic for me. And it might not be a hobby, but something I truly enjoy. I still read the Sunday paper in its print form every Sunday with a cup of coffee and find great pleasure in that. I enjoy writing, and one of the hobbies that I believe I'd love to put more time into is writing, and you're hopefully penning a book of some sort, which should happen pretty soon. Traveling, finding new places to experience different things is also something quite enjoyable. So I think those are my hobbies. Very much music. I'm extremely passionate about reading, writing, taking walks.
All right. So
running slightly.
Focusing on the writing, what do you want to write about?
Many things. We live in a world now that is so so full of content, right? I think all of us have within us this ability to express our life journey, to express things that are important to us, etc. And so I find I am thinking around what I want to write that will hopefully, add some value to people's lives in some way, right? So be that a focus very much on women and how they show up in the world is something I'm really passionate about, and how in the way they show up in the world, they are able to deliver on their goals and their ambitions. So it's very likely to be a book that supports that passion point of mine. And if it does have some anecdotal narratives around my own journey, it will possibly have that too. So I think that's possibly what the book will be about.
All right.
Yeah.
So would you say, is this side of you, this relaxed and hobby, like being passionate about your hobbies, is this side of you also known to your team at work, or is like, do they just know boss lady, too scared to go to the...
Yeah. Interestingly, no. This is me. I mean, I'm an extremely hard worker. As I said, I'm up very early every day. I tend to be in the office probably at 6 a.m. in the morning, give or take, between 6 and 7. And I do the time. I'm a big believer in, and it might be old school, but I'm still a big believer of hard work, putting in the time to really achieve your ambitions and your goals. I do believe, I know the 10,000 hour theory has been debunked, but I do believe in this need to put in the time repetitively so to be able to deliver on the things that you need to. And so from a leadership perspective, I definitely show up like that. You know, the time I put into what I do, I would never expect of anyone in the team things that I wouldn't be prepared to do. So I think everyone at Riverbed knows that. Very open door policy. I find, if anything, I end up quite inspired by the people around me that I work with. And so what I've tried to build is a very sort of collaborative office environment where all of us are very much equals and we're all showing up every day to deliver on the ambitions of really trying to build a best of breed agency that leaves a unique legacy in terms of Riverbed and what we're here to do.
All right. So your team, so they definitely see you as a workhorse.
I love that. I mean, maybe they do, but I think what they see, what I try and instill, is a passion for great work. You know, like I try and instill this belief in everyone that if they are committed to doing certain things, they'll be able to achieve greatness, right? And if they achieve it in their individual capacities, it can only benefit the agency at large. And that's kind of what I try to instill. And if you're able to navigate and get there with a 4-hour day, then great, you know. But I think for me, it's not so much about the number of hours. It's definitely just about, I think, the mindset and a sort of do whatever it takes mindset to deliver on those things.
I just want to come back to you, Monalisa.
You're right.
The person. How many children do you have?
I've got 2 children.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Boy and a girl.
Boy and a girl. It's interesting. We still call them children even though they're adults, right?
Children, yeah.
But yeah, I've got 2 children, a boy and a girl, daughter-in-law, and my grandson.
Okay.
That's the nucleus, yeah.
So how do you spend time with them? Do you through this podcast interviews, we've learned a lot about really how families spend time.
Mm-hmm.
Sitting together with everybody, enjoying dinner, it's not really spending time, according to other people.
Mm-hmm.
But some people think it's better to spend time individually, bond them, give them the attention. How do you spend time with your son, your daughter, your daughter-in-law? How do you connect with them?
Yeah.
In a group or individually?
I think we do a lot of group things together, which would be possibly quite similar to most families. Sunday braais and dinners and things like that, where there is a level of connection. I must admit, I don't think I spend enough individual time with them. And, there is, if you'd been asking me this question, possibly 20 years ago, I'd be responding quite differently because they'd be a lot younger and, need my time a lot more. But I do think as they grow and become adults, Mahlatsi, please agree with me on this point. They do start embarking somewhat on their own journeys, right? And your connection changes and evolves, and it does become, those moments where there's this need for either advice or support or encouragement, and those become sort of big defining moments and they don't necessarily have to happen regularly. but when they are sort of necessary, they happen then. And I think, and I hate to say this, but what technology has done as well is that it has, on some level, allowed for connection in quite a different form, where you can connect on this thing called WhatsApp. Apparently, there's a
WhatsApp,
social
yeah.
media. Yeah, so I've heard of it.
Yeah.
It's a strange thing, but and so suddenly, what I'm finding is that it's no longer really about not being connected, but I guess it's the quality of those connections that become a lot more important over time.
Today you've done something so sweet, right? You showed up with your grandson.
Yes, I did.
And is he the only one?
He's my only grandson, yes.
So it's your only favorite grandson,
Yes.
which I think it's probably where you spend more time, right? The most probably best space, best place to connect.
Yeah. There's something about children, right? That it's their innocence. Are we allowed to call him over? It's something about children. It's their innocence and their just the sort of happy nature that they exude. That's quite heartwarming. And so, yes, I do spend quite a bit of time with him on weekends, etc. I don't often pick him up from school, but I had to do so today. And I thought, I was going to say no, but then I thought of the context of this, this show, and it made sense to integrate, I guess, a bit of my personal life with what I'm doing currently in terms of this show.
Come say hello. Come say hello to Granny.
Hello.
So come. This is my grandson. I call him Sbusiso. What's your name?
Sydney.
You don't like Sbu?
I do.
Okay, Sydney's better.
Okay. What
Great.
grade? Well, how old are you?
8.
Oh, you 8.
Yeah.
So you're in grade 2.
Yeah.
How's that?
Good.
Just good?
Yeah.
All right, no problem. Making friends at school?
Yeah.
A lot of friends?
Yes.
Do you play sports?
Yes.
What sports do you play?
Football, but it's only called soccer.
Okay. So do you only play football or do you also try other sports?
Just football.
So you're a spool of one trade?
Yeah.
For now.
For now, okay.
Cool.
No problem.
Thanks for that.
Thank you,
So you
Sydney.
can go.
Nice meeting you.
Cool. So yeah, I mean, I saw your face brightening up when you talk about him.
Yes.
So to show the deep connection.
Yes. No, there's a very deep connection, and I think it's always important to sort of look at life. I think as you get older, you look at life quite differently, and I think my kids' experience of me as a mother is obviously quite different from the experience I have with my grandson, because I do feel we. Are you agreeing with that?
No, I'm just because my sister recently had a baby, so
Oh, right.
he's a grandfather
Okay.
as well.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
When I see her grow up, and when she's gonna spend time with her grandparents and all that, she's gonna be like, "Oh, they're so nice. Gogo Nomkhulu are so nice." And then me and my sister, I know this will happen.
Yeah,
Will definitely happen.
it will
It's like,
happen.
they weren't like that when we were growing up, so
Yeah.
you get the nice version of
Right.
our parents. So
No, true. I mean, look, I think that you get they get the wiser version.
I feel like they get the version of them that just doesn't have any more energy to deal with
Yeah.
naughty kids anymore.
When you're younger, you're building, right? There's also a lot you're doing in the context of having a family, trying to either build a business or a career. So your life stage is very different, and how you show up is quite different as well. I know my journey. I was a single mother, 2 kids. Went through quite a big struggle in my life, just in terms of moving from being divorced to where I am now, and just trying to build that journey. So to figure out this space of balance was oftentimes you would feel you didn't have the luxury for it. And my daughter, if she was here now, would share a couple of moments where I would be so tied up with work, I wouldn't be picking her up from, school at 2:00 in the afternoon, and so it's, oftentimes I think a lot of women don't have that luxury of this balanced conversation that we're having, and to find it or to even have conversations around it, I do believe we're quite privileged to be able to do that.
Your career.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know you always wanted to be in this line of work? Or, provided we know you're a musician by passion.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you probably would have been a musician. You probably would have had your band with you.
Mm-hmm.
So, besides that, what would you have when you were young? What did you want to go into when you were still figuring out this thing called life and career?
Music was always sort of up there, but I always wanted to be in business. I either thought I would. I loved economics, so I always thought I'd be an economist, but ended up being an entrepreneur. The Riverbed is the third business I've started, the first one that succeeded. We've been around 16 years now. And quite interestingly, if I look at what we do as a creative agency, it's a business that is built around creativity, right? What we sell is creative ideas. So there's this interesting, I guess, connect between music, which is what I was always passionate about, and the kind of work that we do. No two product is ever the same. You're exposed to a plethora of sectors and categories and industries. And so it definitely helps to keep what we do fresh and really interesting and exciting. So I think I've ended up in a space where I've been able to sort of take this passion of music. I also have quite a business mind. I studied accounting, and so bringing those two things together within the context of Riverbed has been great, and possibly I think one of the reasons why it's been something I've been able to do for the long term. And as I said, we've been around now for 16 years.
You said it's 16 years, right? The business. So what's next then? Another 16 years?
That's a good question. So I think there's still a lot to be done when one looks at trying to build a business. Firstly, that has differentiation. That's quite unique in terms of its proposition in the market. So we've done a lot of work in that context around, and I keep using this word care, but I think what's been quite powerful for us has been around building a business on what we call a care culture foundation, a business where we have created a strategic framework around what we call care points. And so it's interesting we're having this conversation because what we look at in that context is if we're speaking with our customers, we want to understand what the business cares about and do that quite holistically in the context, I guess, of balance in some ways. We also, because we deal with brands, we also look at what we call brand care points. And then ultimately, everything we do is in service of the consumers that we create our products for. So also look at, what we call consumer care points. The reason I'm just laboring on this is because I think what our next is really then starting to actually create ownable assets that bring care to life. And, an example of that is what we're working on now is a piece of research that is built around what will be a care barometer. So every 2 years, we're going to measure what South African consumers or people care about within a particular context and across different areas within their life, and see how we can align that to what brands and businesses want as well. So it's some really important work that will be quite ownable from a Riverbed perspective. And it does sort of start to take us in a slightly different direction from a business perspective. But yeah, I think the big thing, as with most entrepreneurs, is reaching a stage where you can have a business that can continue to grow even without you, because you've laid the foundation in terms of what it is and what it seeks to do. And that's part of what our next is.
All right.
You're probably on the way there. I mean, it's your daughter working in the business?
She is, but she's planning to go overseas actually in a couple of months. So that's her
study
journey.
or leave there?
Yeah, to study.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you can pass the baton to the son to take it to another level.
Those are the conversations.
Does he see himself in there? Or it's like...
Nash, where do you see yourself?
Or it's not discussed. It's still,
no, look,
there.
we're definitely having the conversations.
Yeah.
I mean, you build legacies for them to connect and be shared. So, but I do think that fortunately, perhaps, because you don't always want to raise mini-me's, right? You want to raise kids that I think first and foremost are happy. I think first and foremost go into the world with a level of self-esteem and belief that they are worthy and they can contribute to the world. I mean, for me, that's almost the ground for success. And then they can hopefully find something that they want to do that will pay bills and help them sort of grow into whoever they want to be. But I don't know what you found, Peter, just in the context of when we are raising children, this balance of who you are and the expectations maybe we inadvertently put on them to become successful. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, I mean, very similar, and I can be judged or corrected here because it's a very difficult place now.
Yeah.
I think as a parent, you try to do the best for your children, and you worry a lot about them.
Yes.
And you also benchmark a lot. Sometimes we try to live our lives through them, which is too much and all that. So what I personally have done is to kind of mentor my children from the beginning, and I've been kind of nudging them, encouraging them. I remember asking them to write a book when they were still primary school, high school, and they were like, write a kiddies book, okay? You can scribble. They're like, no, not interested in all that. But I mean, you give the guidance and the ideas, and you let them, go with those as if they can.
Right.
But I also know that, my children are very difficult to me. I mean, different to me. And they won't be me. They will do their own things, and they're already doing that, which is fine. But I mean, it's a pity that you try to do that. I remember my grandfather when I was growing up and saying, if your father has been able to, that was his example, to drive a Toyota, you need to be able to at least get a Mercedes. As a second
skip and a jump.
I mean, that was a long time ago, before you were born.
Yeah.
So they remember the variety of cars wasn't this big main car. It's like a Mazda, a Toyota, a Ford, Mercedes, maybe BMW.
So it's like 6 brands.
But I mean, a lot of older people respected the brand Mercedes.
So why they called it old man's car.
Exactly.
Does your dad have one?
No.
So he's not an old man yet.
You're not an old man, don't worry.
Yeah. So it was that type of incremental, jump. It's like, a lot of families with the stories that, education is important. Some people boast of being the first one to have a degree in the family or masters and all that. So pushing that, I think that incremental, it's okay. I'm, more transformational, more radical improvement, not, they must be themselves, the fullest themselves and all that. But I'll see if I'm winning or the jury's still out, if I'm winning or losing on that,
I mean, Okay, let me add my 2 cents in.
Please.
You never really forced us to be anything that we didn't want to be. And when I say he never really did that, he never did
You
that.
never. That's
So,
powerful.
and I think my dad always just encouraged us to just, first of all, be yourself, be comfortable with who you are,
Yeah.
and don't be afraid to try new things.
Right.
Like something that I see very much in my dad is that he's not afraid to try new things and to continuously progress with the
Right.
times. Like you could say that a lot of people's parents are stuck in
Yeah.
their times that they grew up in. I'd say my dad isn't really that person. It's like he's very progressive and like with this whole podcast thing, it's like if he was a man who was stuck in his time, we wouldn't
Yeah.
be here doing the
Yeah.
whole podcast.
No, it's so
thing.
special.
So I think for me and my sister, it's very inspiring to see that you can honestly continue to progress and do other things. Like you don't have to put yourself in a box and
Yeah.
then that's you. It's all about self-improvement and always trying out new things and having the confidence to try out new things
Right.
and being fine with failing, because I mean you're always gonna fail at something before you get it right.
Right.
So yes, I think in that aspect, yes.
Great.
So I'll take that as a compliment.
It's an amazing one.
So
Thank you for sharing that. It's powerful.
don't get that often. So, I mean, as we kind of smoothly winding off, want to give you the airtime maybe to say a few things that you want to say about the show, about yourself, your experience here, some parting shots.
Yeah. Well, parting shots. Thank you. It's so. I think what I'm encouraged by is that we are truly just moving into the space where our lives are no longer compartmentalized. Right? There isn't
Yeah.
this work, family, which is how we grew up. They were sort of really separate things, and I think the closer we're able to bring and marry the two, this work-life balance almost becomes irrelevant, because we've been able to really, I think, co-create our worlds around the things that are important to us. And so I've learned, I think, just by being on this platform and encouraged that, as I progress in life, I'll focus on that a lot more. I'm always as I said, I'm quite an avid reader, and one of the women that I admire is a lady called Indra Nooyi, who used to head up PepsiCo, and she talks about this reality that women face, that our biological clock is at odds with our career clock, right? And when it's constantly at odds. And so I think my parting words are always really that as women, we do try and find how, despite this sort of the incongruence of these two things, that we do first and foremost always, find ways to negotiate how we show up as mothers. Because it being a good mother can't be about how much time you're spending with your child, because you want to be able to be a good mother, have a great career, have time to yourself, and balance has to revolve around all of those things. And so those really are my parting words, that let's perhaps, I think the word balance is oftentimes misconstrued as needing to have 50% of everything. But, for me, it's about how do you sort of look at your life and your world holistically and be clear about where you want to focus your time and where you need the support to fill in the gaps. In the midst of that, you find that support with no guilt, but with the realization that all of that is in service of helping you realize your ambitions.
With that, thank you very much for making the time. We
Thank
really
you both.
appreciate
I've
that.
loved every minute of it. Thank you.
Glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah.